Hello and welcome to Future Imperfect. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips, and in this episode, I'll be covering... Well, I'm gonna go over some of the new Star Trek Discovery news, among other things, and the Orville. Along with some Star Wars, because, you know, it's a sci-fi podcast, so why not? So, I'm going to be flying solo again in this one, so I hope you guys enjoy this, just like the previous episode. So, let's get on with it. So, as some may know, Star Trek Discovery premiered at a blue carpet event. Yes, that's right, blue carpet event for the Discovery premiere, saying that it was a night that won't soon be forgotten. And, yeah, they had various Star Trek actors from a multitude of generations, not to mention the current cast, but William Shatner and Nichelle Nichols was present at the premiere to kind of usher it in, as it were. And yeah, they were kind of told to enjoy the ride, as it were. Yeah, it looks like a pretty fun event. But yeah, they did this whole world premiere of the show where they played the first two episodes. One of the things that kills me about this show is the Discovery executive producer, Akiva Goldsmith, because he kind of strikes me as someone who doesn't understand Star Trek. And I know that he's an Oscar winner and a longtime Star Trek fan. But he's done a lot of other films. I'm not discounting anything he's done, but yeah, I mean, I know he has been involved to some degree in the recent stuff with Abrams, but for me, he kind of, like I said, he kind of strikes me as someone who doesn't really understand Star Trek or everything that's come before, because he's saying that Discovery is ready to be born. It's unlike any Star Trek you've ever seen, in that it's so fundamentally and essentially Star Trek in a way that I'm terribly proud of, and yet it brings with it scope and the breadth of a movie that's pretty exciting. It's not any more or less Star Trek than anything that's come out prior or will come out in the future, but I kind of wish it was in the Kelvin universe, because I'm not, again, that's the aesthetics thing, but there's been some speculation that, and I'll get into this later because there's this whole diatribe that I want to get into, that I read an article for pertaining to CBS, and that this could turn out very bad for them, making this exclusive on CBS All Access. However, then they go into William Shatner talking about his thoughts on it, and he claims that, you know, this is at the premiere. They asked me to come down and give a little history, he said, so here I am. It's understanding the anticipation of opening night, even though it was filmed months ago, and it's existed now in its final form for a while. It is opening night. Now you and I and the rest of the world are going to look at it and say, oh, we like it or we don't like it. Opinion is going to be formed this evening as if the curtain went up, and that's fun to be a part of. In other words, he kind of gave a non-answer, but that's Shatner. Yeah, and they go through the rest of them, exploring this new universe anyway, and then we get the Alex Kurtzman phrase of we definitely did set out to blur the line between television and movies, which television is doing now anyway. That is 100% true. So in building this universe and building this version of Trek, we all wanted to feel like a massive cinematic experience. Okay, I get that. I still feel like with this aesthetic and this touch, I think they could have easily tackled a lot of the content between generations and the next generation. There's an entire time span of stuff that is never been filled in, and that's giving them almost 50, 60 years to play with there. So I would have much rather seen that happen. And then they have Bo and John Trimble, the couple that saved Star Trek. I believe they were on the 25th anniversary VHS tape that I used to have a long time ago. But yeah, they're on here too. They've got a lot of writers. They've got a lot of actors. They got John Billingsley of Enterprise at the event. Anthony Montgomery from Enterprise at the event. They've got Jonathan Frakes, one of the directors of a couple episodes from The Next Generation here. Julie Nimoy, daughter of Leonard Nimoy there. Yeah, so I mean, they got a few old hat people joining them for this event, and then Nana Vister, visitor of DS9, is there. Voyager's Roxanne Dawson, Enterprise's Connor Trenier, and DS9's Nicole DeBauer. Yeah, so they've had a decent chunk of the different casts show up in support of this. I don't know. I'm still gonna watch it. This is the thing too. They've been hyping this show out, and despite their best efforts, they're saying that it's going to debut September 24th on CBS All Access in the US, Space Channel in Canada, and Netflix in the rest of the world on the following day. The testament will be to see if people sign up for CBS All Access to watch the show, and to see if this pans out. And I guess I'll get into this whole diatribe that I've kind of read up on. First of all, CBS has burned a lot of bridges over this last year. Last two for sure, but this last year they've burned a lot of bridges, because not only did Star Trek hit its 50-year anniversary, but CBS's reputation, especially with the fans in the courtrooms, has pretty much gone down the crapper in the last year because of all of their flattening of fan films. And because of these guidelines, they've kind of there's been a lot of ugly litigation between especially CBS and Axanar, which there's thoughts that the reason why Axanar got killed was because that, and the reason why CBS arranged for it to never see the light of day was because that CBS singled it out because the theme was 10 years prior to James T. Kirk's assumption of the command of the Enterprise, and had accidentally stumbled on the very plot line that CBS was exploring for the struggling Discovery series. So there's that bit, which my opinion of CBS isn't all that great anyway. And then just adding the fact that they've kind of shot fan film stuff, which how Star Trek continues is still going on. I'm still unclear, but I'm glad that it's still going. I'm glad that that's at least one production that still gets to continue. So, but anyways, there's this article on Krypton Radio that I saw that Discovery could be poised for success, or would be if. And I guess this is crazy. They're making the episodes for $8 million an episode. And the ad campaign is the biggest CBS has ever done for anything, reaching far into social media all over the planet. And it should be a raging success. But there's a very large problem, and they kind of single this out, and they said that there's a big elephant in the room, and the difference is that this new Trek, unlike every other Trek, won't be on broadcast television, but on their paywall, which I myself will not pay for. I will not be a part of that support system for CBS. I've not been a big proponent for paying extra for things, and so this will not be one of them. I don't currently have cable, nor do I want it. I don't have satellite, nor do I want it. I have Netflix and I have Hulu. If it's not on those two, I just won't watch. Which is why I'll get into the Orville later on. But anyways, with this whole paywall thing, there's a lot of speculation of how much Americans have actually heard of it, and whether the need is there, and the fact that CBS is kind of flying in uncharted waters, at least for themselves, because Netflix and Hulu have been doing original content for quite some time. But they're saying that the pro-CBS pundit estimates are that only about 10% of the fans are making ugly noises about Trek, which is total BS. Total BS. If you go to any place online right now, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Star Trek Online, most of the conversation is about how pissed people are at Star Trek Discovery, as opposed to what it could have been. And so we get into this whole diatribe of not only have they shot themselves in the foot with the court stuff with the fans, not only have they blundered it with this show supposedly coming out 3 different times this year, and the fact it's behind a paywall. They're seeming to base it off of the like buttons or because there's no dislike, which I'm sure would show up very bad. But if you're looking at it from that, it looks in fine shape. However, people like myself or other people may just click like just so that it's, I like that, this article, meaning that I might check it back out later, but I ultimately forget. So like casual clicker. And that's kind of what they mentioned in this article. And there's going to be a big difference, I think, when it comes to people spending money to get this one show exclusively as opposed to watching it on cable. I would much prefer this was on cable. But looking at the numbers, CBS has this trailer on YouTube, and the Orville has several 100% better ratings on the trailer alone, and Discovery has, for only 2 of 3 fans who voted, liked it, as contrasted to the parody Orville, 6 of 7 fans who voted liked it. In other words, 60% of viewers liked Discovery, where 87% liked the Orville. But yet Discovery has 40% of the thumbs down response. So that should be setting off alarms for CBS, but yet it's not. And that's kind of what they mentioned in this article. And so I'm of the same mentality here. They're trying to base this original show. Somehow they're getting their data to say that there's an average Trek fan, which I don't believe exists on any spectrum. If you're into Trek in any regard, you're not average, you're just among them. There's no age group. It's kind of a thing that spans from kids through senior citizens. Like there's no definite pattern with Trek. It's something everyone's grown up with since the 60s, and it's been passed on generation to generation. So it's kind of that thing that sticks with everybody. So I feel like the problem is going to be that we're going to come to see the second week what actually happens with CBS All Access and whether people sign up for this thing. I don't know what's going through CBS's mind on any of this. I like I said, I'm not paying an extra fee, and for the fact that the CBS All Access isn't available on about 50% of the devices, like DirecTV, PS3, PS4, things like that, Mac. You'd have to watch it on your TV. So, I don't know. I'm not overly enthusiastic, and I guess from what I've read too, CBS got all the production money from Netflix. So that's why it's got the little grittier and different look to it, too. Netflix is not footing the bill for season 2, though. So if CBS can't make the next season's production costs from the All Access service, which there's probably no way in the Q continuum that's going to happen, then we could very well see Star Trek Discovery die after season 1. And they kind of mentioned that, for CBS to dump $130 million in production costs alone out of its own pocket for the next season, then the series will probably be canceled after its initial 15-episode run, which I concur. So, that being said, if that does happen, we won't probably see another Star Trek series for a long time, or it'll be a one and done and they'll move on to something else. And so, I guess we'll just have to see what happens. So, before I go into the Orville conversation, I'm going to finish my Star Trek Discovery. Apparently, at that event, though, it came back with early reactions saying that it'll give fans what they've been asking for, apparently, because of, shiny things, which doesn't concern me. I would rather have a functioning story and not have the shiny stuff, honestly. I don't, and I don't want my White Walker Klingons. I want what I've been accustomed to for the last 50 years. Thank you very much. So, just return to sender your White Walker armored Klingons with the orc faces from Lord of the Rings, and give me back the classic Klingons. So, so anyways, they're saying that the show has supposedly gone over well with some people, and that it's as fun as possible. And then they're trying to give people different options for streaming, and this is interesting. CBS All Access subscription will set you back $5.99 a month, or you can go ad-free for $9.99 per month. So then it's almost like Hulu. You're paying either $8.99 or $11.99. And then they're touting that, in addition to Discovery, you'll be able to watch every other CBS programming, along with every episode of every previous Star Trek television series, which you can get all those on Netflix and Hulu currently, so in the US. So why would you do it? Like, there's no incentive. And ThinkGeek is also offering a CBS All Access pin, which features the USS Shenzhou in a limited run of 1,000 units. Once ordered, $25 of the $30 price tag will be delivered to you as a digital credit toward your CBS All Access subscription. So basically, the pin is $5. I don't need a pin. I'm just garbage. It's like the Mighty Mug infatuation that people had for quite some time. I can't get behind throwing money behind something that doesn't matter. So yeah, then they've listed the first episode's title, which is The Vulcan Hello, and the brief synopsis of the episode is: in the series premiere, new worlds and civilizations are explored by new members of the Star Trek universe. Which, yippee-ki-yay. And so, at the same time, the Vulcan Hello and the second episode of Star Trek Discovery will air pretty much back to back on CBS on September 24th. And yeah, the episode 2 title is called The Battle at the Binary Stars. Episode 3 will be called Context is for Kings. And episode 4 will be called The Butcher's Knife Cares Not for the Lamb's Cry. Whatever any of that means. So anyways, they're going to have that. The show's also going to have a new show that streams after the new episodes air or whatnot. They're going to have a show called After Trek. And yeah, that's all the information that's out right now on that. So it's just another version of what I'm doing, but somebody that's famous gets to do it instead. So yay. I won't be watching that either. So joy. So Jonathan Frakes also reveals that Star Trek Discovery will make a trip into the Mirror Universe, which we didn't see in TNG at all, which was actually, I think, the only series that didn't feature the Mirror Universe, surprisingly enough. Frakes said that he has seen the CBS pilot and it's amazing. He says freakouts are unfounded and you'll be amazed. Which, yeah, that's what they're going to, of course, say. He's associated with it. He's signed on to direct one of the episodes of the show's first season, though not the episode that visits the Mirror Universe. Instead, the episode he is directing will be focused heavily on the Klingons. That, of course, yeah. So, the Orville. I've actually been enjoying this show, and I'll probably be reviewing this show as well on separate episodes of Future Imperfect, in addition to Star Trek Discovery. And I figured it's kind of fitting because they're both essentially cut from the same mold, even though the Orville seems like it's placed during the TNG era and certainly holds to those aesthetics to some degree. So I find that show very, very interesting. The fun part is some Star Trek actors are wanting to do cameos. McFarlane revealed in a Reddit Ask Me Anything thread that he's got one or two in the lineup. He gave no hint at who, but being that McFarlane's been on Enterprise, Garrett Wang, Harry Kim really wants to do it more than he'd like to appear on Discovery because he liked working with McFarlane on American Dad. And then additionally, just because of, the fact that this is going on too, Kurtzman on Discovery has stated that there has been discussions with some actors to make cameo appearances on the All Access show, which would be the first new Trek series, obviously. But the Orville premiered on its first day with like 8.6 million viewers and a 2.8 in its target demographic, which is awesome. And then the second episode's aired as well, which got more into the Star Trek-y realm. And the third episode, the show's actually moving to Thursdays from Sundays, which is great. But I love the fact that it's on Fox. And I say that because we get a sci-fi series, but it's not afraid to do anything. Plus, it's on cable. So I'm more likely to support it and just watch it from Fox's website at my TV. And it's not a big deal to me. So the other fun part is Brandon Braga, the executive producer of The Orville, who was an executive producer and showrunner on Voyager, said that he liked the fact that The Orville is more than just a parody of Star Trek, but a return to classic Star Trek style storytelling, which I concur that I'm in favor of that as well. He said it's kind of its own thing. It's funny, at times very funny, but the stakes are real. It's science fiction ideas. He says, I think are really cool. It's a good mix of comedy, but also drama. It's like MASH. You'll be laughing one second, the next something very serious is going on. You have to be involved. You can't do an hour-long satire of the genre. It's a loving tribute to this kind of standalone storytelling, which I'm in favor of that. And he said that he kind of missed that storytelling that Star Trek did, which are standalone parables with beginning, middle, and end. I don't know. I'm kind of in the same boat, and honestly, I've enjoyed everything I've seen so far. I like the uniforms. I like the ship, even though it's real weird. The funny thing is Jon Favreau, Iron Man director, did the first episode of the Orville. The second episode was done by Robert Duncan McNeil, Tom Paris of Star Trek Voyager, which is awesome. And then Brandon Braga is doing the third episode, and then James Conway, who's done episodes of Enterprise, DS9, Voyager, Next Generation, is directing the following episode. And then Jonathan Frakes is doing the next one after that. And it's kind of cool to see a lot of Star Trek alumni taking part in this tribute to Star Trek. It just kind of amazes me that there's enough, not only the fact that these people are directing, but the fact that they're wanting to partake in this, and that kind of makes me excited about it more. I don't know, what are you guys' thoughts on Star Trek Discovery versus the Orville? Are you going to watch them both? Are you going to watch one? Are you going to watch the other? I'm going to watch both, but I can't say that I enjoy one over the other, because obviously only one is out at the moment. There's even a thought that Charlize Theron might guest on the Orville. This is old news from like 2 months ago, but it's still almost a certainty that might be going on. And I've seen ups and downs reviews on this show. People asking if it wants to be a sitcom or a sci-fi drama. People kind of questioning what it wants to do. But I think that it's... I don't know. I like what it's doing. I don't care if it's somewhat doing a parody and poking fun. So I still think this show's great. So moving on to something more fun. Star Trek Online. With Star Trek Online Emergence, they just came out with season 13.5, which has Geordi, and it's literally a 5-minute episode, maybe 10-minute. And you discover somebody that comes out of the Nexus, and I talked about that a little bit last week, but this new episode is called Emergence, and it's going to come out October 3rd, and will soon follow on Xbox One and PS4. And you'll reunite with Captain Geordi LaForge of TNG in this brand new episode of Melting Pot, and you accompany him and Captain Comeric to a new colony world on Draenor, established by the Lukari and their long-lost sister series, the Kentari. And you have to deal with them interacting. So, and then they're going to have a new 5-tier fleet holding on the colony. They're going to have a brand new Red Alert, 2 new fleet holding defense queues, and a new primary specialization called the Miracle Worker. So you can just call yourself that instead of Captain. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with this, and if they do anything with the Nexus after the fact. Honestly, I'd love to see more TNG love in the show, or in this game, but and I hope the episode's longer. And there's a lot more interaction with LaForge, because it was pretty pathetic what that previous episode or partial episode did. Not to mention, on September 21st, captains will also be able to purchase a brand new Galaxy class interior And Star Trek Online will also be celebrating TNG's anniversary with server-wide giveaways on September 28th, which includes the classic Scant uniform and Type 7 shuttle. So you get another shuttle and the Scant uniform, which is basically the male dress, essentially from season 1 of TNG. So it'll be interesting. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what goes down on that. So yeah, that kind of rounds out this episode of Future Imperfect. So until next time, set your phasers to stun and live long and prosper.